Maya's shift at Sacred Heart Hospital ended at 11:30. As an emergency room nurse, she was used to chaos, blood, and impossible decisions made in seconds. What she wasn't used to was the white sedan that had been following her for the past 3 blocks. Her ex-boyfriend Marcus had been calling, texting, showing up at her apartment building despite the restraining order. But tonight felt different. Tonight felt dangerous. She clutched her bag tighter, picking up her pace as the November rain began to fall. The streets of the Gold Coast neighborhood gleamed with wealth. Luxury cars parked along pristine sidewalks, golden lights spilling from expensive restaurants. She didn't belong here. She'd only cut through this area because it was the fastest route to the train station. Now she was regretting that decision. The sedan's engine growled behind her. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. She glanced back. Marcus was behind the wheel, his face twisted with that familiar rage. She knew too well. The rage that had left bruises on her arms. The rage that had shattered her phone against the wall when she'd tried to call for help 6 months ago. The rage that had finally pushed her to file that restraining order and move out while he was at work. She'd thought she was free. She'd thought the legal system would protect her. She'd been naive. The sedan accelerated. Maya broke into a run. Her sneakers splashed through puddles, her scrubs soaking through as the rain intensified. Behind her, she heard the car door slam, heard Marcus's voice shouting her name, heard the rage and possession in every syllable. "Maya, get back here. You think you can just leave me?" She ran faster. The street blurred. Her bag bounced against her hip. Up ahead, she saw Salvation. A restaurant with a burgundy awning, warm light glowing through tall windows, a doorman in a crisp uniform standing beneath the entrance. She didn't care that she was soaked. Didn't care that she looked like a drowned rat. Didn't care that this place probably cost more for one meal than she made in a week. She just needed to get inside, to find safety, to escape the nightmare chasing her. The doorman's eyes widened as she sprinted toward him. "Miss, this is a private..." Maya didn't slow down. She grabbed the door handle, yanked it open, and collided with something solid, something immovable. Someone. The impact knocked the air from her lungs. Strong hands caught her shoulders, steadying her before she could fall, and when she looked up, gasping for breath, she found herself staring into the most intense gray eyes she'd ever seen. The man was tall, easily 6'2". His black suit was perfectly tailored, probably worth more than her car. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble, all sharp angles and masculine beauty, but it was his eyes that held her frozen, gray like storm clouds, assessing, dangerous, missing nothing. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry," Maya stammered, trying to pull away. "I didn't mean to. You're bleeding." His voice was low, controlled, with just a hint of an Italian accent that sent shivers down her spine. Maya touched her cheek and felt the sting. She must have scraped it when she'd tripped over the curb half a block back. "It's nothing. I just need..." "Maya!" Marcus's voice cut through the rain-soaked night. "Don't you dare go in there!" The man's grip on her shoulders tightened fractionally. Those gray eyes shifted past her, taking in Marcus's approach with a single sweeping glance. When his gaze returned to Maya's face, something had changed. Something cold and lethal had entered his expression. "Is he the reason you're running?" Maya's throat closed. She nodded. The man studied her for exactly 3 seconds. Then he made a decision that would alter the course of both their lives. "Come with me." Not a request. A command, delivered with absolute authority. Before Maya could respond, he'd shifted position, placing himself between her and Marcus. His hand moved to the small of her back, guiding her into the restaurant with a possession that felt both terrifying and inexplicably safe. The interior of Ricardo's was exactly what she'd expected. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, fresh flowers on every table, the quiet murmur of wealthy patrons enjoying meals that cost more than her monthly rent. Every head turned as they entered, not because of Maya's bedraggled appearance, but because of the man beside her. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. A waiter actually dropped a wine glass. The host at the front podium went pale. "Mr. Caruso," the host stammered. "We didn't know you were coming tonight. Your usual table is occupied. I'll take the private room in the back." Again, not a request. The man, Caruso, didn't even slow his stride as he guided Maya through the restaurant. Of course, of course." "Right away. Should I inform Chef?" "Later." They moved, through an archway at the back of the dining room, down a short hallway lined with expensive art, and into a private room that screamed exclusivity. Rich burgundy walls. A single table set for two. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline. The door closed behind them with a quiet click. Maya finally found her voice. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have barged in like that. I'll just sit." The command was soft but absolute. "I really should go." "Sit down, Bella." The endearment stopped her cold. He pulled out a chair, those gray eyes never leaving her face. "You're shaking." She was. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving her trembling and suddenly aware of how cold she was in her soaked scrubs. Maya sank into the chair, her legs no longer capable of supporting her weight. Caruso shrugged off his suit jacket and draped it around her shoulders. The fabric was still warm from his body, carrying the scent of expensive cologne and something uniquely masculine. Maya pulled it tighter, unable to stop herself from inhaling deeply. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't know what I would have." A commotion in the main dining room cut her off. Marcus's voice, loud and belligerent. "I know she came in here. That's my girlfriend." Caruso's jaw tightened. He moved to the door, opening it just enough to speak to someone outside. "Handle it." "Yes, Mr. Caruso." The door closed again. Through the walls, Maya heard muffled shouting, then silence. She looked up at her unexpected protector, seeing him clearly for the first time. He was younger than she'd initially thought, probably early 30s, but there was something ancient in those gray eyes, something that had seen too much, done too much, something that should have terrified her but instead made her feel safer than she had in months. "Who are you?" she asked. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "My name is Dante Caruso. And you are?" "Maya. Maya Thompson." Maya. The way he said her name, with that slight Italian lilt, made it sound like music. "Tell me about the man outside." "My ex-boyfriend, Marcus Chen. We broke up 6 months ago, but he won't accept it. He's been following me, calling me, showing up at my work. I have a restraining order, but..." She gestured helplessly. "But paper doesn't stop men like him." Dante pulled out the chair across from her and sat, those intense eyes never wavering. "How long was he violent with you?" The directness of the question stole her breath. "How did you..." "You flinched when he shouted. You have a bruise on your left forearm that's about a week old, judging by the color. And you ran into this restaurant like your life depended on it." His voice remained calm, but something dangerous flickered in his eyes. "So I'll ask again. How long?" Maya's hands twisted in her lap. "About a year. It started small, grabbing my arm too hard, pushing me during arguments. Then it escalated. The last time, he threw me against the wall so hard I had to get stitches." She touched the small scar hidden by her hairline. "That's when I left." Dante's expression didn't change, but his hands, resting on the table, curled into fists. "And the police?" "Filed a report. Got a restraining order. They said they'd patrol my neighborhood more regularly, but..." She laughed bitterly. "You can't get police protection 24/7 unless you're someone important. I'm just a nurse who made bad dating choices." "You're more than that." The intensity in his voice made her look up. "You're a woman who deserves to feel safe. Who deserves to live without fear?" Something in the way he said it made Maya's chest tighten. This stranger, this man she'd literally crashed into minutes ago, was looking at her like she mattered, like her safety was important, like he gave a damn. Before she could respond, a knock sounded at the door. "Come." Dante's voice shifted, becoming harder, more authoritative. A man entered, tall, built like a tank, with a scar running down his left cheek. He moved with the confidence of someone who knew how to hurt people. But when he looked at Dante, there was nothing but respect in his eyes. "Boss, the situation is handled." "Explain." "The gentleman outside was causing a disturbance. We escorted him to his vehicle and strongly encouraged him to leave. He's currently heading north on Michigan Avenue. I have 2 of our people following at a discreet distance." Maya's eyes widened. "You're having him followed?" Dante's gaze shifted back to her. "I want to know where he goes, where he lives, everything about him." "Why?" "Because I'm deciding what to do with him," said so casually. So matter of fact, like deciding someone's fate was just another evening task. The scarred man cleared his throat. "There's more, boss. He made some threats. Said he'd come back. Said the woman belonged to him." A pause. "Said some other things I won't repeat in present company." Dante's jaw clenched. "Record everything. I want documentation." "Already done." Got it on the security cameras and my phone. Good. Dismissed. The man nodded and left, closing the door behind him. Maya stared at Dante, her mind racing. The way his employee had called him boss. The way everyone in this restaurant had reacted to his presence. The casual authority with which he'd handled Marcus. This wasn't a normal businessman. This was someone with real power, real influence. Who are you? She asked again, this time meaning something entirely different. Dante stood, moving to a small bar in the corner of the room. He poured 2 glasses of amber liquid, bringing one back to her. Whiskey. You need it. She took the glass with shaking hands but didn't drink. That's not an answer. He settled back into his chair, his gray eyes holding hers. My family owns several businesses in Chicago, restaurants, real estate, import and export. That's still not an answer. A smile. Genuine this time. You're observant. And brave. Not many people question me twice. Should I be afraid of you? Probably. He took a sip of his whiskey. But I'm not the one who's been terrorizing you for months. I'm not the one who put bruises on your skin or made you afraid to walk home from work. So perhaps your fear is misplaced, Bella. There it was again. That endearment. Bella. Beautiful. Coming from his lips. It didn't sound like a line. It sounded like a fact. Maya finally took a sip of the whiskey. It burned going down, but the warmth that spread through her chest was welcome. Why are you helping me? Because you needed help. Because I don't tolerate men who hurt women. And because... He paused, something unreadable crossing his features. Because from the moment you looked up at me with those terrified eyes, something in me recognized something in you. Her breath caught. What does that mean? It means, Maya Thompson, that I'm not letting you walk back out into that night, alone. It means I'm not letting Marcus Chen continue to terrorize you. And it means that as of right now, you're under my protection. I don't need... Yes, you do. Your restraining order is useless. The police can't protect you. Your locks can be picked. Your routine can be learned. Your guard will eventually drop. Men like Chen don't stop. They escalate. You know this. You work in an emergency room. You've seen what happens when situations like yours go unaddressed. He was right. She had seen it. Too many times. Women coming in with injuries they claimed were accidents. With stories that didn't quite add up. With that particular type of fear in their eyes that said they knew the monster would be waiting for them when they left. What are you suggesting? Dante leaned forward, his intensity pinning her in place. I'm suggesting you let me handle Marcus Chen. Permanently and legally. And I'm suggesting you stop living in fear. In exchange for what? Nothing's free. Smart. Woman. His smile was approving. In exchange, you accept my protection. You move into a secure apartment I own. You allow my people to ensure your safety. And you let me into your life. Let you into my life how? However you're comfortable with. Friendship. Companionship. Or... His eyes darkened with something that made heat pool in her stomach. Something more, if that's what you want. But that part? That's your choice. The protection isn't conditional on anything physical. I'm not him. I don't take what isn't freely given. Maya's heart was racing for an entirely different reason now. This man, this dangerous, powerful, beautiful man, was offering her safety, freedom from fear, and maybe, possibly, something else. Something that terrified her almost as much as Marcus did, but for completely different reasons. I don't even know you. Then get to know me. Dinner. Tomorrow night. Here, somewhere public and safe. Let me show you I'm serious. And if I say no? Dante's expression sobered. Then I still handle Marcus Chen, because I don't allow men like him to operate in my city. But you walk away tonight and go back to looking over your shoulder. Back to being afraid. Back to the life you've been living for the past 6 months. When he put it like that, the choice seemed obvious. But Maya had learned the hard way that things that seemed too good to be true usually were. That men who seemed charming and protective could turn controlling and violent. That safety was often an illusion. But as she looked into Dante Caruso's gray eyes, she didn't see Marcus's barely controlled rage. She didn't see manipulation or deception. She saw a man who had made her a promise and intended to keep it. A man who had asked for her choice, not demanded her compliance. One dinner, she heard herself say. And you don't do anything to Marcus that will get you arrested. His smile was predatory. I promise you, Bella, everything I do will be completely legal. I have lawyers for a reason. Something told Maya those lawyers had gotten him out of plenty of situations that weren't exactly legal. But right now, soaking wet in borrowed clothes, exhausted from a 12-hour shift and terrified of her ex-boyfriend, she couldn't bring herself to care. "Okay," she whispered. Dante stood, extending his hand. "Then let's get you somewhere safe for tonight." Maya took his hand, feeling calluses on his palm that spoke of more than just boardroom meetings. This was a man who worked with his hands, who did more than sign papers, who was probably capable of violence but chose, at least right now, to offer her gentleness instead. They walked back through the restaurant. Every eye followed them, every conversation paused. And when Dante placed his hand on the small of her back, guiding her toward the exit, Maya heard the whispers. "Is that Caruso's woman? Must be important if he's bringing her here." Did you see how he looked at her? At the door, a black SUV was waiting. The scarred man from earlier stood beside it, holding the rear door open. Rain still fell, but the awning kept them dry. "Franco will take you to one of my properties downtown. It's secure, comfortable, and fully furnished. Stay there tonight. Tomorrow we'll discuss permanent arrangements." Maya hesitated. "I should go home, get my things. My work schedule is not worth risking Marcus showing up while you're vulnerable. Your things can be collected later with proper security. For tonight, you rest. You're safe." The way he said it, like safety was something he could simply decree into existence, should have seemed arrogant. Instead, it made something in Maya's chest loosen, a tension she hadn't even realized she'd been carrying. She nodded and moved toward the SUV, but before she could step inside, Dante caught her hand. "Maya." She turned back. He was closer now, close enough that she could see the darker flecks in his gray eyes. Close enough to feel the heat radiating from his body. Close enough to wonder what it would feel like if he closed that final distance and, "You're mine now." His voice was soft, but there was steel beneath the silk. "Under my protection, under my watch, under my care. No one touches you. No one threatens you. No one makes you afraid. And anyone who tries, they answer to me. Understood?" A shiver ran through her that had nothing to do with the cold. "Understood." His thumb brushed across her knuckles, a touch so gentle it made her eyes sting. "Sleep well, Bella. I'll see you tomorrow." Maya climbed into the SUV, still wearing his jacket, still feeling the phantom touch of his hand. As the vehicle pulled away from the curb, she looked back through the rear window. Dante remained under the awning, watching her leave, his expression unreadable. She'd run from one dangerous man tonight and collided with another. But as Chicago's lights blurred past the window and exhaustion finally began to drag her, two under, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that this danger was different. This danger might actually keep her safe. The apartment Dante provided was on the 40th floor of a luxury building overlooking Lake Michigan, floor-to-ceiling windows, modern furniture that looked like it belonged in a design magazine, a kitchen with appliances Maya had only seen in cooking shows, and, most importantly, a security system that included cameras, reinforced locks, and a panic button that connected directly to Dante's people. Franco had escorted her up, done a sweep of the apartment with professional efficiency, and left her with a phone number. "Anything you need, Miss Thompson, day or night. Mr. Caruso's orders." Now, alone for the first time in hours, Maya stood in the shower and let the hot water wash away the rain, the fear, and the adrenaline. She watched Marcus's presence circle down the drain and allowed herself to feel something she hadn't felt in months. Hope. Maybe she could have. A life without fear. Maybe she could walk to work without looking over her shoulder. Maybe she could sleep through the night without jerking awake at every sound. And maybe, just maybe, the man who'd promised her safety was exactly what he appeared to be. Or maybe she was being naive again, making the same mistakes that had led her to Marcus in the first place. Maya dried off and found clothes laid out on the bed. Designer brands, expensive materials, everything in her size, which meant Dante had either made an educated guess or had access to information about her that should have been private. She chose to believe the former. For now. The bed was massive and obscenely comfortable. Maya crawled under covers that probably cost more than her car and closed her eyes, expecting sleep to be elusive. Instead, she dropped into unconsciousness within minutes, her body finally allowing itself to rest now that it felt safe. She dreamed of gray eyes and gentle hands and a voice with an Italian accent saying, "You're mine now." Maya woke to sunlight streaming through windows she'd forgotten to cover, and the smell of coffee she definitely hadn't made. She sat up, disoriented, heart racing until she remembered where she was. And why. Following the coffee scent led her to the kitchen, where she found a bag from an expensive bakery, a French press of fresh coffee, and a note written in elegant handwriting. "Good morning, Bella. Breakfast is on the counter. A car will collect you at noon for lunch. Casual dress. Bring questions. D." Maya poured coffee with shaking hands. Noon was in 3 hours, which meant she had 3 hours to decide if she was actually going through with this. 3 hours to determine if accepting help from Dante Caruso was salvation or a different kind of trap. She spent 2 of those hours researching. Her phone had been in her bag, miraculously uncracked and still functioning. The internet had plenty to say about Dante Caruso, heir to the Caruso family fortune, multiple legitimate businesses across Chicago, philanthropist who donated millions to hospitals, schools, and community programs, regular attendee at charity galas and city events, photographed with politicians, businessmen, and celebrities. But there were also whispers, rumors of family ties to organized crime, speculation about the source of the Caruso wealth, stories of people who'd crossed the family and then mysteriously left town or had their businesses suddenly fail. Nothing concrete, nothing provable, just the kind of rumors that clung to powerful families with Italian surnames and old money. Maya should have been terrified, should have grabbed her things and run, should have called the police and filed a report about being pressured into accepting help from a possible criminal. Instead, she found herself getting dressed at 11:30, choosing jeans and a soft blue sweater, pulling her natural curls into a high ponytail. She applied minimal makeup, telling herself it had nothing to do with wanting to look good for Dante Caruso. She was just being presentable, professional. The lie felt thin even to her. At exactly noon, there was a knock at the door. Maya checked the security camera. Dante's people had shown her how to use and saw Franco standing in the hallway, looking like a bouncer in an expensive suit. She opened the door. "Good afternoon." Franco nodded. "Miss Thompson, are you ready? Where are we going?" Mr. Caruso asked me not to spoil the surprise. A surprise. From a man she barely knew. This should have sent her running. Instead, Maya found herself grabbing her jacket and following Franco to the elevator. The car was the same black SUV from last night. Franco held the door for her, then climbed into the driver's seat. They pulled into Chicago traffic, heading north through neighborhoods that grew progressively more expensive. They ended up in Lincoln Park, pulling to a stop outside what looked like a private residence. A beautiful brownstone with an iron gate and a small garden that somehow still had green in November. Franco opened her door. "Go ahead. He's expecting you." Maya climbed the steps and found the front door ajar. She pushed it open, calling, "Hello? In the kitchen?" Dante's voice, warm and inviting. She followed the sound through a hallway decorated with art that was probably worth more than her student loans. The kitchen was all stainless steel and marble, with windows overlooking a private courtyard. And standing at the stove, wearing dark jeans and a gray sweater with his sleeves rolled up, was Dante Caruso. He looked different in casual clothes. Younger, less intimidating. But when he turned and smiled, those gray eyes held the same intensity that had pinned her in place last night. "You came. You sent a car. It would have been rude not to." His smile widened. "And here I thought you came because you wanted to see me again." Heat crept up Maya's neck. "I barely know you. Which is why I'm making you lunch. Come, sit. Tell me how you slept." Maya perched on a stool at the kitchen island, watching him move around the kitchen with surprising competence. "Better than I have in months, actually." "Good. You needed real rest." He set a plate in front of her. Fresh pasta with what looked like homemade sauce, a simple salad, and crusty bread that was still warm. "Eat. Then we'll talk." The food was incredible. Maya hadn't realized how hungry she was until the first bite. Dante watched her eat with undisguised satisfaction, occasionally commenting on the dish or pointing out ingredients. It was surreal. Sitting in this beautiful house, eating food prepared by a man who might be a crime boss, feeling safer than she had in her own apartment. Nothing about this made sense. And yet, here she was. When she finally set down her fork, Maya met his gaze. "Okay, talk." Dante wiped his hands on a dish towel and came around the island, sitting on the stool beside her. Close enough that she could smell his cologne, close enough to see the small scar above his left eyebrow. Marcus Chen works in corporate finance, lives in River North, drives a 2-year-old Audi, has a history of complaints from ex-girlfriends, none of which went anywhere because his father is a judge. Wealthy family, good connections, and the kind of arrogance that comes from never facing consequences. Maya's stomach clenched. "How do you know all this?" I have people who are very good at finding information. I also have lawyers who are very good at using that information. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through something before handing it to her. This is a comprehensive restraining order petition. It includes evidence of his previous stalking behavior, documented threats, and witness statements from your neighbors about his harassment. Maya scrolled through the document, her hands shaking. This is everything. How did you... I had my people work through the night. This petition will be filed Monday morning. With the evidence we've compiled and some persuasion in the right places, Chen will be looking at actual jail time if he comes within 500 feet of you. I already have a restraining order. You have a piece of paper. This is enforcement. This is making sure he understands that breaking it will destroy his life. Dante's voice was hard now. Men like him only respond to consequences, so we're going to give him consequences that matter. His job, his reputation, his father's political career, all of it at risk if he doesn't leave you alone. It should have scared her, this casual discussion of destroying someone's life. But Marcus had spent months making her afraid, had put his hands on her, had made her question whether she'd ever feel safe again. And now this man, this near stranger, was offering her a way out. Why? The question came out as a whisper. Why are you doing all this for someone you have just met? Dante reached out, his fingers gently tilting her chin so she had to look at him. Because the second you looked up at me last night, something in me shifted. Because I've spent my entire life in a world of violence and darkness, and when I saw the fear in your eyes, I wanted to be the one who took it away. Because you deserve to feel safe. And because, Maya Thompson, I haven't been able to stop thinking about you for the past 16 hours. Her breath caught. Dante, I know this is fast. I know you barely know me. I know you have every reason to be wary, but I'm asking you to trust me. Not blindly, not naively, but enough to let me help you. Enough to let me show you that not all powerful men are dangerous in the wrong ways. And you're dangerous in the right ways? His smile was sharp. I'm dangerous to people who threaten what's mine. I'm dangerous to men who hurt women. I'm dangerous to anyone who would try to harm you. But to you? Never. You have my word, Bella. You will always be safe with me. Maya should have pulled away, should have thanked him for his help and left, should have maintained her distance and her sanity. Instead, she found herself leaning in, drawn by the intensity in his eyes and the promise in his words. One condition, she whispered. Name it. No lies. I need honesty. About who you are, what you do, all of it. I can handle the truth. I can't handle being kept in the dark. Something like respect flickered across Dante's face. You want to know about my family? Yes. He didn't look away, didn't flinch. My family has been in Chicago for 4 generations. We started with legitimate businesses, restaurants, import and export. But over the years, some of those businesses have existed in gray areas. We have connections to people the police would prefer we didn't. We handle problems that can't be solved through legal channels. And yes, there are those who would call my family criminals. Are you? That depends on your definition. We don't hurt innocent people. We don't deal in the kinds of things that destroy communities. But we operate in a world where power and influence matter more than law, where protection is worth more than justice, where sometimes the only way to solve a problem is through means that wouldn't hold up in court. He paused. Does that scare you? It should. But does it? Maya thought about Marcus, about the restraining order that hadn't protected her, about the police who'd told her they couldn't do anything until he actually hurt her, about the legal system that had failed her over and over again. And she thought about Dante, who in less than 24 hours had done more to make her feel safe than anyone else had in months. No, she admitted. It doesn't scare me, which probably means I should have my head examined. Dante's laugh was genuine, transforming his face from intimidating to breathtaking. Or it means you're practical. The world isn't black and white, Bella. Sometimes the monsters are the ones who hide behind badges and laws, and sometimes the heroes are the ones willing to get their hands dirty. He stood, pulling her to her feet. They were close now. Close enough that Maya had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. Close enough that she could feel the heat of his body. Close enough to be dangerous in an entirely different way. Stay, he said softly. Not here, not in my house, but in the apartment. Let me keep you safe. Let me handle Marcus. And let me show you that you can trust me. For how long? As long as you need. As long as you want. His hand came up, fingers gently tracing the curve of her cheek. I'm a patient man, Maya. I can wait for you to feel ready. I can wait for you to see that I mean what I say. I can wait for you to realize that what's building between us is worth exploring. And if I never feel ready, if I decide this is too complicated or too dangerous or just too much, then I still handle. Marcus, I still make sure you're safe, and I let you walk away. His thumb brushed across her lower lip, making her breath hitch. But I don't think you will. I think you feel it too. This connection, this pull, this sense that we were supposed to find each other. Maya did feel it. That was the terrifying part. She'd known this man for less than a day, and already she felt more drawn to him than she'd ever felt for Marcus. Already she trusted him in ways that should have taken months to develop. Already she was leaning into his touch like she'd been waiting for it her whole life. "This is crazy," she whispered. "Probably." His forehead touched hers, his breath warm against her lips. But sometimes the best things are. Sometimes the things that make sense on paper are the ones that destroy you. And sometimes the ones that seem impossible are the ones worth fighting for. Is that what this is? Worth fighting for? I think it could be. If you give it a chance. Maya's hands came, up, resting against his chest. She could feel his heart beating, steady and strong. Could feel the solid warmth of him. Could feel the promise of safety and something more. Something that made her skin tingle and her stomach flip. "Okay," she breathed. "I'll stay. I'll let you help. I'll give this a chance." Dante's smile was brilliant. And then he was closing the distance, his lips meeting hers in a kiss that was somehow both gentle and consuming. His hands framed her face, tilting her head to deepen the kiss, and Maya went molten in his arms. This wasn't like Marcus's kisses. Those had been demanding, taking, possessive in all the wrong ways. This was different. This was Dante offering and asking and promising all at once. This was heat and safety wrapped together. This was possibility. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers again. "You have no idea how badly I wanted to do that last night. So why didn't you? Because you'd just escaped a dangerous situation. Because you needed safety, not seduction. Because I wanted our first kiss to happen when you chose it, not when you were vulnerable." He pressed a soft kiss to her forehead. "And because, Bella, when I kiss you, I want you to have no doubts about what it means. And what does it mean? It means you're mine. Not in the way Marcus thought you were his, like property to control, but mine to protect, mine to care for, mine to cherish." His eyes burned into hers. "And eventually, if you let me, mine to love." The words should have sent her running, should have triggered every warning bell Marcus had installed in her psyche. Instead, they made her feel warm and wanted and valued in ways she'd never experienced. "I barely know you," she repeated. But this time it sounded less like an objection and more like wonder. "Then let's fix that." Dante took her hand, threading his fingers through hers. "Stay for coffee. Tell me about your life. Your family. Your dreams. Everything that makes you Maya Thompson." So she did. They sat in his living room as afternoon light slanted through the windows, and Maya told him about growing up in Hyde Park, about her mom who died from breast cancer when Maya was 19, about her father who'd remarried and moved to Florida, about her decision to become a nurse because she wanted to help people the way the nurses had helped her mom. She told him about her tiny apartment and her massive student loans and her dream of one day traveling to all the places she'd only seen in magazines. And Dante listened. Not the way Marcus used to listen, waiting for his turn to talk or scrolling through his phone, but really listened. Asked questions. Remembered details. Made connections. When it was his turn, he told her about growing up as the only son of Antonio Caruso, about the weight of expectations and family legacy, about his mother who died when he was 15 and how it had changed his father into someone harder, colder. He told her about the life he'd been born into, the one he couldn't escape even if he wanted to, and the code he lived by that kept him from becoming the kind of monster he'd been raised around. "I could have walked away," he said quietly. "Gone to college somewhere, far from Chicago, built a different life. But this is my family, my city, my responsibility. So I stayed, and I made choices about the kind of man I wanted to be within this world. No regrets? Only one. That I didn't find you sooner." He squeezed her hand. "But we have time now. We have the chance to build something real." By the time Franco knocked to say he'd take her back to the apartment, the sun was setting and Maya felt like she'd known Dante Caruso for years instead of a day. Felt like she understood him in ways that shouldn't be possible this quickly. Felt like maybe, just maybe, this wasn't as crazy as it seemed. At the door, Dante pulled her close one more time. Dinner. Tomorrow night. Somewhere public. Somewhere you feel safe. Your choice. The Italian place near the hospital. Lucia's. Nothing fancy. He smiled. Perfect. I'll pick you up at 7. You don't have to. I want to. Let me date you properly, Maya. Let me show you how a man should treat you. She nodded, not trusting her voice. He kissed her once more, soft and sweet, then let her go. In the car, Franco caught her eye in the rearview mirror. He's a good man, Miss Thompson. Hard, but fair. Dangerous, but honorable. He'll keep you safe. You've known him long? 10 years. Since I got out of the Marines and needed work. He gave me a job when no one else would. Gave me purpose. He's saved my life 3 times, and I've saved his twice. That's the kind of man he is. The kind who inspires loyalty because he earns it. Maya thought about that as they drove through Chicago's darkening streets. Thought about Dante's gray eyes and gentle hands and the promise he'd made her. Thought about how she'd gone from terrified and alone to protected and cared for in less than 24 hours. It was too fast, too intense, too impossible. And yet, here she was, already counting the hours until she'd see him again. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of dinner dates and afternoon coffee and stolen moments between her shifts at the hospital. Dante was as good as his word. The new restraining order was filed with enough evidence to make Marcus's lawyers nervous. His father, the judge, suddenly became very interested in his son's behavior, and Marcus himself seemed to disappear. His calls and texts stopping, his sedan no longer following her home. Maya could breathe again, could walk to work without fear, could sleep through the night without jerking awake at every sound. The apartment Dante provided became home in ways her old place never had. Safe, secure, beautiful. And Dante. Dante was everything Marcus hadn't been. Patient, attentive, interested in her thoughts and dreams. He never pushed for more than she was ready to give, but made it clear he wanted everything she was willing to share. Their dates were perfect. Lucia's became their regular spot. The little Italian restaurant where they could sit for hours talking about everything and nothing. He took her to the Art Institute on her day off, walked her through galleries while explaining the history of pieces she'd only ever seen in books, brought her coffee at the hospital after particularly rough shifts. Never staying long, but always making sure she knew he was thinking of her. They didn't sleep together. Dante never even suggested it. But the tension built with every touch, every kiss, every heated look. Maya found herself wanting him in ways she'd never wanted anyone. Wanting not just his body, but his time, his attention, his presence in her life. She was falling, fast and hard and completely. And the scariest part? She wasn't even trying to stop herself. It was there, 15th day together when everything changed. Maya was leaving the hospital after a particularly brutal 12-hour shift. 3 cardiac arrests, 2 DOAs, and a domestic violence case that had hit too close to home. She was exhausted and emotionally drained, wanting nothing more than a hot shower and sleep. Dante was supposed to pick her up at midnight, but when she walked out the employee entrance, it wasn't his black SUV waiting at the curb. It was Marcus's white sedan. Maya froze. Her phone was in her bag. Her finger was already moving toward the panic button on the security app Dante had installed. But before she could press it, Marcus was out of the car, moving toward her with that familiar rage in his eyes. Did you really think a piece of paper would stop me? Did you really think some gangster could keep you away from me? Marcus, you need to leave. The restraining order. Fuck the restraining order. Fuck your new boyfriend. Fuck all of it. You're mine, Maya. You've always been mine. And I'm tired of playing nice. He grabbed her arm, his grip bruising, and Maya's training kicked in. She twisted, broke his hold, and ran. Not toward the parking lot where she'd be isolated, but back toward the hospital entrance where there were cameras and security guards and witnesses. But Marcus was faster. He caught her before she made it to the door, spinning her around and slamming her against the brick wall hard enough to knock the breath from her lungs. His hand wrapped around her throat, squeezing just enough to make breathing difficult. You think you can leave me? Embarrass me? Make my father threaten to disown me? You're going to pay for that. You're going to learn what happens when you betray me. Black spots danced at the edges of Maya's vision. She clawed at his hand, kicked at his shins, but the ER shift had left her exhausted and Marcus was bigger, stronger, angrier. She was going to pass out. Or worse. Then suddenly, the pressure was gone. Marcus was ripped away from her, lifted off his feet, and slammed into a car with enough force to set off the alarm. Maya collapsed against the wall, gasping for air, and looked up to see Dante. She'd never seen him like this. The controlled businessman was gone. This was someone primal. Someone dangerous. Someone barely holding back violence that would make Marcus's attack look gentle. Dante's hand was wrapped around Marcus's throat now, holding him against the car like he weighed nothing. His voice, when he spoke, was cold enough to freeze blood. "I told you what would happen if you came near her again. I don't take orders from criminals," Marcus choked out. "My father is a judge. You touch me and... Your father is a coward who's already agreed to arrange your transfer to the Seattle office to avoid scandal. You're leaving Chicago in 72 hours. The restraining order stands. You come within 500 feet of Maya. You contact her in any way. You even think about her too hard. And I'll destroy everything you care about. Your job, your reputation, your family's standing, all of it gone. You can't." Dante squeezed harder, cutting off Marcus's words. "I can, and I will, because Maya is under my protection. She's mine, and I don't show mercy to people who hurt what's mine." Franco appeared beside them, along with two other large men Maya recognized from previous encounters. They moved with military precision, professional and efficient. "Make sure Mr. Chen gets to his vehicle safely," Dante said, releasing Marcus with a shove that sent him stumbling. "And make sure he understands that this is his last warning. Next time, there won't be a conversation." Marcus scrambled to his car, his bravado crumbling in the face of real danger. The white sedan peeled out of the parking lot with squealing tires, leaving only silence behind. Dante turned to Maya, and the violence drained from his expression, replaced by concern. He moved slowly, carefully, giving her time to pull away if she needed to. His hands, so recently wrapped around Marcus's throat, were impossibly gentle as they cradled her face. "Are you hurt? Did he?" His voice cracked. "Maya, talk to me. I'm okay. Shaken, but okay." Her voice was rough from Marcus's grip. "How did you know he was here?" "I was already on my way to pick you up. Got here early and saw his car. I was about to intervene when..." He closed his eyes briefly. "When I saw him put his hands on you. When I saw him hurt you." Maya's hands came up to cover his. "I'm okay. You got here in time. I should have been earlier. I should have made sure he left town immediately instead of giving him time. I should have." She kissed him, cut off his self-recrimination with her lips, pouring all her fear and relief and gratitude into the connection. Dante responded immediately, pulling her close but careful of any injuries, his touch reverent despite the passion burning between them. When they broke apart, Maya kept her hands fisted in his shirt. "Take me home. You're home. I don't want to be alone tonight." Something flared in Dante's eyes. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. I'm done being afraid. I'm done letting Marcus have power over my life. I'm done pretending what we have isn't real. I want you, Dante. I want this. I want us." He didn't argue, didn't question. He simply swept her into his arms and carried her to the waiting SUV, holding her like she was precious, like she mattered, like she was his whole world. Franco drove them to the brownstone, somehow making the trip in record time while still obeying most traffic laws. The house was warm and welcoming when they entered, soft lighting and familiar spaces that already felt like home. Dante set Maya on her feet in the living room, his hands framing her face once more. "We don't have to do anything tonight. You've been through trauma. You need rest and..." "What I need," Maya interrupted, her voice stronger now, "is you. I need to feel alive. I need to feel wanted. I need to erase Marcus's touch with yours. I need you to show me what it's supposed to feel like when someone truly cares." Dante's control wavered. She could see it in the clench of his jaw, the darkening of his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. "If we do this, if I take you to my bed, I'm not letting you go. Not tomorrow, not next week, not ever. You'll be mine in every sense of the word. Is that what you want?" "Yes. No hesitation. No doubt. That's exactly what I want." He kissed her then, and this time there was nothing gentle about it. This was possession and promise and passion all rolled together. His hand slid into her hair, tilting her head for better access. His body pressed against hers, letting her feel exactly how much he wanted her. Maya's hands worked at the buttons of his shirt, needing to feel skin. Dante helped her, shrugging out of the fabric and then reaching for the hem of her scrubs top. He paused, his eyes meeting hers in silent question. She nodded, and the fabric joined his shirt on the floor. They made it to his bedroom in a trail of discarded clothing. The space was masculine and elegant, all dark wood and expensive linens, but Maya barely noticed. All her attention was on Dante, on the way he looked at her like she was art, like she was precious, like she was everything. He laid her on the bed with a gentleness that made her throat tight. His hands traced every curve, every line, mapping her body like he was memorizing it. His lips followed, pressing kisses to skin Marcus had bruised, as if he could erase every bad memory with his touch. "You're beautiful," he murmured against her collarbone. "So damn beautiful, Bella. And you're mine. Say it. I'm yours." The words came easily, feeling right in a way nothing else ever had. "Dante, please. I need you." He gave her what she needed, took his time, made her gasp and arch and call his name, showed her with his hands and mouth and body what it meant to be cherished, to be worshipped, to be loved. When they finally came together, when he filled her completely and made her whole in ways she hadn't known she was broken, Maya understood what Dante had meant about not letting her go. This wasn't just physical. This was connection. This was completion. This was finding the other half of her soul in the arms of a man who shouldn't make sense but somehow made all the sense in the world. Afterward, wrapped in expensive sheets with Dante's arms around her and his heart beating steady beneath her ear, Maya felt peace settle over her. Real peace. Not the absence of fear, but the presence of safety, of belonging, of home. "I love you." The words slipped out without conscious thought. 3 words that should have been too soon but felt inevitable. Dante's arms tightened around her. He pressed a kiss to the top of her head, his voice rough with emotion. "Ti amo, Bella. From the moment you crashed into me, I was yours, and I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret giving me your trust." Maya tilted her head up, meeting those gray eyes that had become her home. "No regrets. Not one." He kissed her, soft and sweet and full of promise. And as Chicago's lights sparkled beyond the windows and the night wrapped around them, Maya knew she'd finally found what she'd been searching for all along. Not just safety, not just protection, but love. Real, consuming, dangerous love. The kind that would burn away everything else and leave only truth behind. The kind worth fighting for. Worth running toward instead of away from. Worth every risk. "She's mine." Dante had said that first night. And he'd been right. She was his, just as surely as he was hers. And maybe that was the real lesson. That sometimes the most dangerous choice is the safest one. That sometimes the monster is the hero. And that sometimes, when you're running from one nightmare, you crash directly into your dreams. 3 months later, Maya stood in front of her bathroom mirror, staring at the positive pregnancy test in her shaking hands. She'd been so careful. They'd been so careful. But apparently, the universe had other plans. Dante was downstairs making breakfast, probably something incredible that would make her apartment cooking look pathetic. They'd fallen into a routine over the past months. She still worked at the hospital, still maintained her independence in ways that mattered. But she spent most nights at his brownstone, her things gradually migrating from the luxury apartment to his home until the separation felt artificial. They hadn't talked about the future beyond vague mentions of someday and eventually. They were still learning each other, still building trust, still figuring out how their worlds could merge. This was going to accelerate everything. Maya's hand drifted to her still flat stomach. Fear warred with something else. Something warm and hopeful. A baby. Their baby. A life they'd created together during that first night, when everything had shifted from protection to love. "Bella?" Dante's voice carried up the stairs. "Breakfast is ready. And I have news about Marcus you'll want to hear." Marcus. She barely thought about him anymore. Dante's people had made sure he'd transferred to Seattle as planned, had made sure he understood the consequences of breaking the restraining order, had made sure he knew that Maya Thompson was permanently off limits. She'd been free to live without fear, and now she was about to bring a child into this world, into Dante's world. A world that wasn't always safe, that operated in gray areas, that came with dangers she was only beginning to understand. But as she walked downstairs and saw Dante plating eggs with the same care and attention he brought to everything involving her, Maya knew it would be okay. Because this man, this dangerous, powerful, beautiful man, had spent 3 months proving that his promises weren't empty, that his protection was real, that his love was absolute. "You look pale," Dante said immediately, setting down the spatula and moving toward her. "Are you feeling all right? Did something happen at work? I need to tell you something." His expression shifted to concern. "What's wrong?" Maya took a breath and decided to just say it. I'm pregnant. Dante froze. Completely and utterly froze. For 3 seconds that felt like hours, he just stared at her, his gray eyes wide with shock. Then slowly, carefully, like he was afraid she might break, his hand reached out to cup her face. Say that again. I'm pregnant. About 8 weeks, I think. I know we didn't plan this. I know it's fast. I know we haven't talked about kids or the future, or he kissed her. Cut off her nervous rambling with lips that trembled slightly, conveying more emotion than words ever could. When he pulled back, there were tears in his eyes. A baby. We're having a baby. Are you upset? Because if you're not ready, if this is too much, upset? He laughed, the sound breaking with emotion. Maya, you just told me you're carrying my child, that we created a life together, that you're giving me a family. How could I possibly be upset? Relief flooded through her. So you're happy? I'm terrified. I'm overwhelmed. I'm already worried about how to keep both of you safe in my world. But yes, Bella, I'm happy. I'm so damn happy I can barely breathe. He dropped to his knees in front of her, his hands resting gently on her stomach. You hear that, little one? Your mama just made your papa the happiest man alive. Maya's hands threaded through his hair, tears streaming down her face. We can do this. Together. Together. He stood, pulling her close. But there are things we need to discuss. Things we need to arrange. Like what? Like making you my wife. Like making sure you and our child have my name and my protection legally, as well as personally. Like setting up trust funds and security measures and… He paused. I'm getting ahead of myself. Are you asking me to marry you? I'm telling you I'm going to marry you. The asking is just a formality I'll do properly later. His smile was brilliant. But yes, Maya Thompson, will you marry me? Will you be my wife, the mother of my children, the center of my world? She should have thought about it. Should have considered the implications. Should have worried about what marrying into the Caruso family would mean for her future, for their child's future, for the life she'd built. Instead, she found herself nodding, tears still streaming down her face. Yes, yes, I'll marry you. Dante lifted her off her feet, spinning her around with a joy she'd never seen from him before. When he set her down, he was laughing, that rare, genuine sound that made him look younger and free. We're getting married. We're having a baby. You're mine forever now, Bella. No escape. I don't want to escape. She pulled him down for another kiss. I want this. I want us. I want our family. Then that's what you'll have. Everything you want. Everything you need for the rest of our lives. And as they stood in his kitchen, wrapped in each other's arms with breakfast growing cold on the counter, Maya knew he meant it. Knew that this man who'd saved her from a nightmare would spend the rest of his life making sure she never had another one. She's mine, he'd said 3 months ago. And she'd become his, just as surely as he'd become hers. Two people from different worlds who'd found each other in the chaos and built something beautiful from the danger. Their story had started with fear and flight, but it would continue with love and family and a future neither of them had dared to imagine. And it all began the night Maya Thompson crashed into Dante Caruso and heard the words that would change her life forever. She's mine.